finally happened. I have the legend with me, Mr. Stök. How are you doing, sir? Great to have you.
I'm so good. I'm so good. And thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here on this show.
You're such a legend, man. Everybody looks up to you. What's it like to be this legendary cult status in the bug bounty world?
I no idea, and I didn't even ask for it. That's the thing. I'm quite a crappy hacker, to be honest, but I'm a great storyteller, and I have this talent of being able to break things down so people actually understand it. And I think that's the thing why people just like the content that I do. It's not always super technical, but when it's being delivered, it's something that everybody can resonate with.
Yeah, I really like that about your videos. One of the first videos from you that I saw was where you explained that you test for race conditions and that you didn't even have any programming knowledge before you started. And I was like, oh wow, so maybe I can get into bug bounties. And look at us now, we are so far ahead. How did you get
Right?
interested in hacking? Like, for me, it was, of course,
How I
people
got?
like you. And
How do you mean how I got started in hacking?
yeah, like for me, I got really interested because of people like you and Life Overflow. I started watching you guys and was like, wow,
Oh
hacking
yeah.
is so cool. It's amazing.
No, it's for me. It was more like I I've always been kind of interested in hacking. I think that's a cool thing. Like people that are hackers are cool people. And of course I want to be one of them. And working is in like IT security. That's or I would say I've been working in the IT space for since I don't know, back in I think I started in 95 or 96, and started like building computers, right? And that was like that was my gateway drug into it. And then I did consulting for over 25 years. And what I did is I was working on primarily the defending side, like blue teamer. I was protecting organizations against cyber threats and that kind of stuff. And back in 2014, I was really, really working and investing my time in Azure, a cloud-based solution that Microsoft now has. It's not that popular anymore, but for people that were heavily invested in Microsoft systems, it was a game changer, because suddenly you can put servers in somebody else's data center. And I was one of those consultants that you would call and ask them like, we're going to do this migration. Could we get some help in planning that out and how to do that? And I would help them out, and we would organize stuff. And I realized when shit didn't work, what they did wrong, like all this misconfiguration when putting boxes on the internet, or just leaving RDP ports straight open and not locking things down. And I'm like, why isn't anyone just checking this? Somebody needs to secure all these applications that they just put straight out, like the SQL installs just hanging straight out. And I'm like, yeah, it needs to be. We need to do something about it. So I got really, really interested in the offensive part, trying to secure stuff, because I knew where people cheated, and I had this ability to understand where things just fucking hit the fan, right? So that way, just gradually, I moved slowly over from just being on purely defending or securing and locking down and hardening stuff, to doing the testing of the teams that actually lock the systems down to make sure that they really were secure. Because if you're saying that you're hardening stuff and nobody's testing it, it's kind of like meh. So I did that, and then I fell in love with bug bounties, right? I went to DEF CON. I got invited to one live hacking event, primarily as for drinks, right? I social engineered myself in there to be a part of to hang in the bar and have free drinks. And that's where I met like Matthias and Franz and all these amazing hackers. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I want to be a part of this. And since that day, everything has changed for me. And I was lucky enough to travel to India in 2018 to vlog and record Fran's travels there. And I was a part of that. And there I met Jobert, the founder of HackerOne, and his wife, and all these other amazingly cool Indian hackers. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm loving this. I'm never, ever going back to whatever I did before. And that's where it all changed for me. I just had to do it. And since that day, I even say it in some of my open commentary that I'm trying to listen to how to, and I'm trying to get code read out to me using a speak sanitizer when I'm mowing my lawn, because I'm so hungry on learning that I'm trying to learn even while I'm doing all this other stuff, because there's not really any audiobooks doing that for you, and I had to do chores. So I did that, and it was terrible, to be honest, but yeah, I was obsessed, and now here I am.
Yeah, I remember you told that in a talk a while ago that you were listening to text to speech, and I remember that and I was like, oh wow, he was so dedicated. I cannot believe he did
Yeah.
that. It reminds me of a guy who
Now
tried
I
to.
really, really wanted to know, right? And you need to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's really important. And you also talked about having really in-depth knowledge about the applications that you are trying to attack. As a hacker, I think it's really important to go super in-depth about the technologies that you're attacking, or is a
Mm.
superficial knowledge enough for that?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I usually talk to Ben about that. How I'm the fusser, the one that loves to just test all the roles and just walk the website and try all the functions and do all that stuff while not doing any real hacking at all. I just have Burp running, right? Collecting data. And then eventually I'm trying to do certain stuff, but I'm trying to use the app as the users the way it's intended, to see all the requests going out, changing profile pictures, changing email addresses and all that stuff. And when I have that map out prepared for me, then that's where I really go deep and do all the other stuff. I even started to do content discovery really, really late in my game. And I even started to do even recon for other subdomains than the ones that I found, because I was an app deep kind of guy. I didn't do any real recon. But of course, mapping out the attack surface of a single app, that's recon too. So yeah, it's just different approaches.
Yeah, that's really true, and that's something really important. I think for me as well, I do very in-depth testing.
Mm.
Um, for the people who want to get started in bug bounty hunting, do you think there is still room for new people, or do you think the market is saturated?
Oh, fuck no. Oh, sorry, my French, but yeah,
No.
no. It's such a huge demand for the things that we do, and you understand that. Most people that do this don't do it full time. It's a very, very small amount of people. Not even okay, I'm just picking a number here. Maybe it's wrong, but let's say that it is 100 people, maybe 200 that do this full time. The rest of us, we do it kind of like hobbies or half-assed or on the side, or we're all having our kind of automation running and doing our content discovery, but we're not actively hacking 8 hours every day, like doing seriously full-time work, like 40-hour week. At least I don't do. And what I realized that even though there's a certain amount of people that do that, they tend to stick to certain targets, and because after a while you're falling in love with it. There's certain people that are just really, really, really good at certain targets, and I want to be one of those persons. So I'd rather be loyal to 3 or 4 programs that are constantly just dropping things, and I have a good connection to the security team, and I met them personally at events and do that. So I'd rather like invest my time on that. So how many, like if you look at the bounty data, how many subdomains or domains are out there? If each and every one just pick one and say, I'm going to own this for the next 6 months, this is going to be my home, you're going to get a lot of deliveries, right? That because you're dedicating yourself going up deep. So there's so much new code being pushed every day that there's not even room for everyone to test it. I would say, yeah, it's more. It's very, very easy to get self-gatekeeping in the idea that this app is being tested by 600,000 other hackers and they're doing it all the time. That's not really the truth. It's just a small percentage that actually continuously do tests and do that all the time. It's way, way, way much more room than you think.
Yeah, that's very true, and especially these days, companies keep releasing new updates every so often, so it keeps getting more and more important.
Continuous, every day, couple of times every day. There's code being pushed.
And let's say you start looking for a new target, and you have a few targets in front of you, you have a few technologies, and you have a few targets that have new technologies that you've never seen before. Would you
Mm.
go for those targets over ones that have familiar technology, or are you the kind of person who goes for the technologies that he knows?
Oh, it depends. It's all about the mood, right? Sometimes you're hungry to learn something new, and then you'll do that other thing. And sometimes you're lazy and you want to do the other one. It's like, mm, I'm betting you there's a couple of movies that you got on Netflix or pirate download that you get back to. You watch them again and you watch them again because you know what you're going to get. The experience that your body gets, the emotions, the feelings, because it's something that you recognize. Same things goes with any kind of framework or hacking or tool or whatever you're using or target. It's that sense of familiarity that is something that you've done before that sometimes just feels great. But sometimes you want to step out of that secure box and try something else. And yeah, it's all, for me personally, it's all about mood.
I really like your view on life, man. It's amazing, really awesome. If
Well,
you
thanks.
decide to pick a new target, if you decide to go for something new, do you learn on the target, or would you go out of your way to pick up that new technology somewhere else and master it before you return to your target?
Oh man, no, definitely not. I'm not a person that studies. I don't have any books. That's the thing. I don't read books. I Google stuff. So what I probably would do is that I would just, I don't know, if it was a brand new target and a brand new framework and a brand new technology, I would probably just, I would fuss it and run a couple of flyover discovery lists and see how does it work? How does it communicate? Try to understand that and then just map out my idea of how this technology is working. And then eventually, I'll test for that and try for that. And if I found some certain vulnerabilities that I can make substantial and reproducible POCs on, I'm going to save those from automation.
That's
And then
great.
I will spray it.
Just the shotgun technology, bam, go.
Yeah, fuck yeah, all over.
I love that technology. Yeah, it's also a technique I really like to do is just try to fuss for every possible thing that I can think of. But all this new stuff,
Stay in scope.
yeah,
Be gentle. Don't
that's
bring
really
systems down.
that is
Admin's gonna be
really
sad.
important. I have gone out of scope a couple of times before, and I sincerely regret doing that. I will never do that again. Thank you
It
for
happens to me too. I accidentally stepped out of it. Let's say you're fussing something, or let's say you're using the burp content discovery tool, right? And that's just going to pick up certain things inside Java files, and it's going to continue fussing. And let's say that you're doing a pen test, and there's a certain part of that app that it's out of scope. You're not allowed to touch it, and that scanner can just walk over there unless you're very, very making sure that you're setting your scope tight. And shit happens, right? Shit happens.
Yeah, very true. That's something that's really important to keep in mind, to always read your target pages carefully, guys.
Oh yeah,
Really, really carefully.
very, very much. And then if something happens, and know what you're doing, right? That's the thing. It's easy to today. You could, in theory, you could collect a lot of data, Ben and so Nahamsec and Static is lost. You just released this huge data set, like all these this API where you can get a lot of data. But the thing is that I'm not really sure, but I don't think it's continuously updated. So what could happen is that those IP addresses could change over time. So you have to make sure that you are on your right target, because if somebody changes the IP addresses in AWS or something, like spins down the box in another one or another Cloudflare instance, and you're using that and you're not verifying that you are on the correct target, you could actually be poking at somebody else. And that would be definitely stepping out of scope. And that's not cool.
Yeah, really important indeed. Google advertisements, if you have your crawler on, it's going to go to those ads. It's all really
Yeah.
important that you watch your scope very carefully.
Yeah.
When I attack a target and it is new, I always take the time to go through that target page really, really carefully, make sure that I look at what's in scope, what's not in scope. If it's something really new, I'll have to put in some time to learn, but keeping motivated, that's sometimes a bit of a problem for me. I don't know if you have had that issue as well in the past. Just
Not
trying
being
to,
motivated.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's seriously, that happens all the time. I get demotivated. I'm having to take, my life is defined in that way currently, that it has to be on a day-to-day basis. It seems like super luxurious, but that's how it is. So what I do now, and what I've been doing lately, is that I start my morning with just simply getting out of bed and saying, fuck yeah, what an amazing day. I'm just going to get some coffee and go for a walk. That's the first thing that I do in the morning. When I've done that, I get back and I have these lists of things where I write down ideas or things that I want to do and things that I need to do and all that. And I just look at those and I decide, what do I want to do today? Is there anything that's in higher priority, like paying the bills? That's a good thing. Maybe I should do that first before I wanted to play this new Borderlands download that I really want to play around with. Or maybe, before I had done something else. Or maybe what happened during the night is that I just got a new fresh alert, like in my Slack, right? Ooh, new target, looks juicy. Then maybe that's going to be prioritized because I feel like I really want to hack that day. So it's all about try and find a work-life balance that suits you. Ron Chan said this once in an interview where he said that if I'm hacking one day and I find something that's good, I'm not hacking anymore that day because you're done. You did great. Celebrate your small wins. Do it in segments. I know, for instance, some of the absolutely best hackers I know hack in increments. They hack for 3 months. They don't hack for 3 months. They hack for 3 months. They don't hack for 3 months. Because this is such an intense industry that we're working in, because you need to watch all the tweets. You need to understand all the CVEs. You need to understand all the things that are going on. You need to be updated on the target and all that. And it's very, very, very easy to get burned out. So mental health and checking in on that, key.
Yeah, really, really important moments, really important things that you touched on there. Really, like the mental health is one of the most important things ever, because you only have one brain, you only have one soul, so take care of it. But like,
Yeah.
the one thing that you told me was just go for a walk in the morning, just get up and have a positive attitude. Attitude for me determines everything. How I get up and how I get into my day determines the rest of it for me.
Yeah.
When I'm looking for these targets, I always have my specific checklist that I'm looking for. I'm always looking for business to business applications, things that I can create users on. Do you have certain things that you always look for in the targets that you attack, or is it just a general, I feel like doing this today?
I would say, yeah, more the later, right? And there's certain things that I have in my methodology, of course. I hate static web pages, so I don't do that. It needs to be a depth. It needs to be something that has multiple user levels. There needs to be more things actually happening in the site. Does it have any exports, imports? Is there any XML involved? Is there any parsers? I love XXEs and race conditions, so I'll look for those kind of things and see if there's something that at least goes hand in hand with that, and or if there's file uploads or certain things that I know that I can manipulate on its way to whatever goes on. I don't do any XSS at all. I don't do CSRF. I never do that kind of stuff. The occasional SQLi if it's needed, but I primarily look at the other things. And then I love business logic, errors. And if you fuss something and you get some stack trace out of it, and that's going to lead you on a path to something else. And there's always some information inside those crashes that's going to pivot you over to a new adventure.
Yeah, I think hackers are like the only people that are happy when they see an internal server error. You mentioned
Yeah.
that you mentioned that you hunt for race conditions. Is that still a thing in the wild? Does it still occur?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's happening all the time, to be honest. Like it's it's getting harder and harder to test for. But here's a nugget for you. Most applications are erasable sooner or later. It all depends on how close you get to the target. Because if you're bypassing the CDN, if you're bypassing all the Cloudflare, and you have this, let's say somebody's spinning up this server in AWS, right? They have it here. And what it does is that it's going to take communications from the other parts of the app, maybe like a web service. And you get as close as possible, maybe in the same data center. You spin up your box there, and you do a couple of let's say headless turbo intruder requests to that. Things are going to happen. That's usually how it is, because you're removing bandwidth, you're removing latency and all that. And if you can send it at mass, interesting stuff happens. It's not always that would be something that's going to be terrible for the organization, but it could generate the stack trace. And that means you're on to a new adventure.
Yeah, that's really awesome. That's a really good tip. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to remember that for sure. That's one that's going on my methodology.
Sweet.
So,
yep.
One of the last things I wanted to ask is, do you have any last advice for the viewers who want to get into bug bounty hunting?
Yeah, for sure. First, it's quite easy. Make sure that you're doing it for the purpose of that it's something that you want to do because you love it, that you're curious, that you want to try something new. Maybe you like the idea of just being able to poke at stuff, right? If we go back a lot of years when I was younger, even if we just go back 10 years, what we're doing right now, would it be possible? If somebody said, I'm going to give you a carte blanche, a green card to hack on some of the most hardened targets out there. You can try all these new amazing tools, and you can fuss, and you can poke, and you can find stuff on these targets. And one, you're not going to get thrown in jail, or you're not going to get fined for it. But instead, somebody's going to say, amazing, you found a security vulnerability in our system. Thank you for that. That's so fucking cool. That wouldn't happen 10 years ago, at least not for me, because I didn't know the bug bounty existed back then. So for me, being able to just have that immense challenge of black box testing some of the most targeted targets on the market, and being able to find vulnerabilities in those. And there's a lot of crits in them, even though it feels like daunting at some time, because you're looking for really low fruit. As soon as you start looking for crits and you get your mindset, that's what you want to get. Crits happen. And when they happen, you realize that, wow, this is all smoke and mirrors. There's actually problems here. Because in the beginning, it feels like everything's going to be mega secure, but it really isn't. They are secure, but it's not mega, right? Nothing is unhackable. So I would say anyone that's interested in starting to do this, first, make sure you have some kind of financial support. A job, a hustle, let's say that you love hacking, right? Work at the 7-Eleven a couple of hours every week, right? So you have a funding at least to pay your rent, then hack all the rest of the time. And don't go all in this and think that you're going to make it. It needs to be a hobby, something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, it's going to be 3 or 4 months in, you're burned out because you didn't find any bugs, and it sucks. Because it's one of those things that in the beginning, you're accumulating information, you're accumulating a lot of information, but the payout isn't even remotely close on the time that you put in. This is a gig economy. You are only getting paid for the things that you do. And if you're not securing yourself and making sure that you have that option to be, that you actually are economically safe, it's going to be you thinking about, maybe I shouldn't invest time in doing that weird research that I really want to do, that I love, that maybe will just turn out to be a rabbit hole or a black hole. Instead, I just need to do these things that I know would eventually generate money for me. Like I'm going to look for these lows or do this automated XSS and all that kind of stuff. You can do that too. But the research and all that fun stuff has to come from the heart. That's where it needs to come from. And that's where the amazing stuff happens. So I would say, if you want to get into this, make sure you have some kind of economical stability first. Keep it as a hobby. Engage with the community. Meet friends. Hack together. Attend OWASP meetups. Do CTFs. Do whatever rocks your boat. But eat sleep, and and hack, right? That's all it is. And be a part of the community, follow up on Twitter, communicate with people, and give back. Like just like you're doing, it's amazing. You're giving back, you're sharing your knowledge, and people are getting hyped by the things that you do.
Straight from the
That's
heart,
leaving a
man.
legacy. It's leaving a legacy. That's what you're doing. And I think this is so cool. So yeah, keep on doing the things that you do. And if there's any new hacker bug hunters out there, just start, man. Just start.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very, very much for appearing here, Mr. Stök. You were amazing as always. One last thing I
Pleasure.
would like to ask you, where can we find you on social media?
Oh, it's twitter.com/StokFrederick, or on Instagram is also /StokFrederick. On all the platforms is actually /StokFrederick,
Awesome.
youtube.com/StokFrederick, or even StokFrederick.com. You will find me around if you just look for it.
You are all hackers. You can find the man. It will be also in the description below. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you again, Mr. Stök. Much love from Belgium, and I hope I will see you soon.
You will later.
Bye.